Black is the color of my true love's hair. Her lips are like some roses fair. She has the sweetest smile and the gentlest hands. I love the ground whereon she stands. My love, you're this she knows. I love the ground whereon she goes. I wish for the day it soon would come. We'll be as one. On down to the climb to morning breeze. Satisfied I never will be. Oh, I like to just a few short lines and suffer death through 1,000 times. Oh, black is the color of my true love's hair. Her lips are like some roses fair. She's the sweetest smile, the jealous hands. And I love the ground whereon she stands. And I love the ground whereon she stands. were hiding behind hay bales. They were planting in the full moon. They had given all they had for something new. But the light of day was on them. They could see those thrashers coming, and the water shone like diamonds in the dew. I was just getting up. I hit the road before it's light, trying to catch an hour on the sun. And I saw those thrashers rolling by, looking more than 2 lanes wide. I had that feeling like my day had just begun. Where the eagle glide descending was an ancient river bending through the timeless gorge of changes, where sleeplessness awaits. I searched out my companions who were lost in crystal canyons, where the aimless blade of science slashed the pearly gates. Then I knew I had enough. I burned my credit card for fuel, headed out to where the pavement turns to sand. The one-way ticket to the land of truth, and my suitcase in my hand. How I lost my friends, I still don't understand. Oh, they had the best selection. They were poisoned with protection. There was nothing that they needed, and nothing left to find. They were lost in rock formation, or became park bench mutations on the sidewalks and the stations. They were waiting. I got bored and left them there. They were just dead weight to me. Better down the road without that load. It's like the time when I was 8 or 9. I was watching my mama's TV. It was that great Grand Canyon Rescue episode. Where the vulture glides descending, there's an asphalt highway bending through libraries and museums and galaxies and stars, through the windy halls of friendship to the roads clipped by the Volvo, and a motel of lost companions waits with heated cool and bar. Me, I'm not stopping there. I got my own life to hold. Just another line in the field of time. When the flash comes comes, I'll be stuck in the sun like the dinosaurs enshrined. And I know the time is done to get what's mine. One summer's evening, drunk to hell, I sat there nearly lifeless. An old man in the corner sang where the water lilies grow. And on the jukebox, Johnny sang about a thing called love. And it's how you killed and what's your name, and how did you bloody know? Blood and death neath the screaming sky, I lay down on the ground, while the arms and legs of other men lay scattered all around. Some prayed, some bled, some bled, some prayed and bled some more. And the only thing that I could see was a pair of brown eyes that was looking at me. And when we got back, label points 1, 2, 3, there was no pair of brown eyes waiting for me. And the road, and I'll go for a pair of brown eyes. I looked at him, he looked at me. All I could do was face him and reinfill me a sign of my illicit dream. his brown eyes were waiting, and I thought about a pair of brown eyes that waited once for me. So drawn to hell, I left the place, sometimes crawling, sometimes walking. I heard the sounds run along the breeze, so I gathered the walls and talking. I heard the sounds from long ago by the open eye, and the birds were whistling in the trees, and the wind was gently laughing, and a rope and a rope and I'll go, a rope and a rope and a rope and I'll go, and a rope and a rope and a rope and I'll go, for a pair of brown eyes. Sometimes to hell I left the place, sometimes crawling, sometimes walking. I heard the sounds run along the breeze, so I gathered the walls and talking. I heard the songs from long ago by the open eye, and the birds were whistling in the trees, and the wind was gently laughing, and I rode and a rope and I'll go, I'll rope and a rope and a rope and I'll go, and a rope and a rope and a rope and I'll go, for a pair of brown eyes. And a rope and a rope and a rope and I'll go, a rope and a rope and a rope and I'll go, and a rope and a rope and a rope and I'll go, for a pair of brown eyes, for a pair of brown eyes. Greetings, friends. I bet you didn't expect to see me back so soon. How are you doing? How are you doing? I just felt an urge to come on again. So, how are you keeping? And yeah, thanks for tuning in, whoever you are, wherever you might be. I'll put the link in chat fairly shortly. I have felt a little urge to come on. Uh, First of all, because the hangout last night was actually taken down, and there was a copyright strike for me playing the Spaceman song. So someone had reported it, or else because I played it a few times before as well. So someone had reported it, or else they copped on that I was playing it. But there's no strike or anything. It's just because it's not monetized. But yeah, the hangout I think is back up again. At least it's up in my own channel again after me deleting the whole song. So that's okay. But if you're listening live, I hope you enjoyed it, and well, I would encourage you to pay attention, pay intention, or yeah, have good intention, but pay attention to pretty much everything that's offered you. The greater stage in play here, and recognizing that that is the case is sort of paramount, Paramount Studios, but it's sort of fundamental as well. So yeah, yeah, how you doing? Good to be back again. I won't keep it on too long. I wanted to come on just and say that, and play a few songs. I'll play a few more songs, and yeah, we'll see where the conversation goes. And have a quick drink. Cheers, man. I mean, proper drink now. Oh well, beautiful day in Limerick here again. I can't handle the heat too well, but it was pretty cool today. And summertime is back as the sun spirals back inwards, but it just doesn't do it on a sort of part like a dartboard, right? It does it in a spiraling fashion. So imagine a dartboard moving up and down. That's what happens because the source itself is moving up and down. So imagine how would you put it? A laser light, planetarium, a laser light shining up against the barrier of a certain kind, but the laser light is moving up and down and round and round, round and round on a daily basis, up and down annual basis, and in and out as well. So those three motions in conjunction gives us, all the resultant skylights. There's a few different considerations as well. There's an outer barrier and there's an inner barrier we're under. The barrier that we're under approaches ground level at the north and the south peripherals, at highest equatorial areas, and we get the sort of the sun through the reflections off the external barrier, which is more the stellar barrier. When the source is moving up and down inward, so think like a jellyfish, how it would propel itself upwards. Imagine you threw a jellyfish into the depths, and it would propel itself upward. It would sort of like pulsate, you know what I mean? So as one thing was going in, one thing was going out. So I think what's happening is that there's the source at the center, Aristarchus, right? The tree is cut, just giant, massive hollow in the center. But that source is like the root of the tree from the other side. So it's moving up and down, round and round, in and out. But the primary barrier is the stellar barrier. Now, when we experience, I was trying to figure this out. I was trying to come to terms with it for the longest of times, and I think I have almost now. So I mentioned the jellyfish, but when the outer barrier expands, which is the stellar, so we have so just to put you straight on a few things, in flat Earth reality or globe Earth reality as well, as the separation between heliocentrism, the sun, all the wandering stars, everything is a star, right? And all of the background stars then. These are on a different plane. They all seem to move in unison, and they're fixed, or they're relatively fixed in terms of our view because they're put so far away. It's all bollocks, all nonsense, all metaphor as well. So we can't throw it out completely. But when we bring it back to consideration of what's really happening, I think the outer barrier is the stellar sort of projection, and as that expands out, as Aristarchus moves up, the sun then comes in. So I think because we are under the inner barrier, which, as I said, is separated from the outer barrier, which is like an umbrella. Think about an umbrella. Think about an umbrella cross section. So you have the greater outer shell, then you have the spines that come up from the support spines that come up in the archway from the central pillar, right? Do you get that? So as you move the umbrella up and down along the shaft. Why do you go get horny? What the fuck? As we imagine moving the umbrella up and down, same thing with the central source itself. So we have an expansion of the outer shell, if you want, but there's a different reaction then with the spines and the inner barrier that we're under. I think, unlike an umbrella, it's more elongated umbrella. So a stretched out ellipsoidal umbrella, a sort of structure, is something that we can equate to more. So how are you at in imagining that? I wonder how you at in imagining that. But I've been trying to work that out. Not that I haven't worked anything out, but I've been trying to sort of come to terms with it in my own brain. Because there's a duality of nature in every way. We've got polar opposites in interaction. This is what the yin and the yang is about. There's polar opposite interaction to make the completion. So we got incorporated everything. How many of you have looked at the yin and the yang symbol and thought three-dimensionally about it? It's two. Those? What do you call those? They're like marshmallow things, but they come in a sort of a twirling, spiraling fashion in different colors. So you have white and pink. It's like the DNA strands. So I think it's something like that that's going on as well. All of these things are reflections of reality and the basic core of our composition. How would you say evolution or growth pattern? Would you say that's the way it has to be, isn't it? Everything's sort of reflected. How do we grow? Well, because of what's going on at the center, the energy source. I actually think the only way, if you have one of those potato strainers, so you not a strainer, a sort of a masher, but it's like a cup. So you get your half a potato or whatever it's cooked, and you put it in and you squash down the handle, and there's all of these little sieve holes in the bottom of it, so it comes through. So it's when you push down, then the potato comes through, and if you could just imagine the reverse, when you take off the pressure, the potato comes back. I think this is what's happening with spring and the new life coming up, springing up. I really do. I think it is in some sort of sense. There's some sort of squeezing, and it's this energy coming forth and then residing, and this continuous process, and we're in constant sort of I would just say interaction with time, with the passage of time, and the source of time itself. Time has to have a source. Everything has to have some sort of causal pathway, tracing back to some prime mover. And I think that prime mover is always in operation. This is why that's what I'm actually getting back to why I said that is because it's not that the sun just travels in and out along a dartboard in the sky. No, it's a contour in a certain way, but the sun is not a primary force itself. It is a reflection, and it's a reflection of other things. So yeah, we got to get to the root cause and the root source. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to put the link in chat shortly. I just came on for a while. I won't stay on too long. Maybe a couple of hours, if that's depending on how the conversation goes. I will say, if anyone was willing to join there, don't be fucking bullshitting me and wasting my time, though. You have to understand this is my hangout here, so you're more than welcome. But don't dictate the conversation. Like I felt Sheila did a small bit last night. I'm not blaming you so much. Like, it's good to be able to talk openly, but I was definitely in a different sort of mindset, and I would have taken things. I would have been more reactive. I'm more active than reactive. But it's okay. Polite Irishman as I am, it's okay. But we'll draw out the link, and if anyone wants to join, let me lead it for a while, or let's sort of establish some core common ground, the way we can progress further. Because if there's no common ground established, well, then anything I say is not going to mean shit to you. Not going to mean shit at all to you. That's why if I'm talking to a ball earther now, especially someone who's been in this arena, I'm going to take what they have to say, not with a pinch of salt. There's clues to be garnered everywhere, but I will understand that there's only one or two possibilities. They're insane, or they're playing their part. So I'll judge it from there. But you know what I mean. I'll ask basic questions, and I expect direct responses. If you're the one that's going to come in here and tell me that you're honest and you fancy engagement with me, well then, yeah, don't be dictating terms to me. And I mean that to Spaceman. You're welcome as well in tonight's Spaceman if you're listening. I reckon someone presses PJ. I said this the last time when PJ comes on. Someone in HQ, GHQ. Oh fuck it, PJ is on again. Send in the best man, Spaceman. Put him on the red phone. Goes in his room. He's an anonymous room in Nicaragua somewhere. I don't know. But yeah, I reckon he's sending the best bullshitter they have, the best diversion agent, the best tactical bullshitter. That's brilliant. Oh. They send in, just in case I talk about anything too significant. But let me put the link in chat for anyone who's interested. But yeah, the hangout was taken down last night. I think it should be up again. And I just took out the Spaceman song. So I got away with it for a few times. So happy with that. And I should comment to anyone in chat as well. I'm sorry about not going to chat more regularly. You understand it's a sort of lonely old venture, but it is a lonely old venture. And I did say, and I do keep saying, this is more for the benefit of me. Call me selfish, call me whatever. It's for the benefit of me, just to fucking be able to talk out openly. I couldn't say the word nigger on another channel, and I was banned. I wasn't banned. It was like, what the fuck did he just say? Jesus, what did he say? I wasn't calling anyone names. I wasn't. Imagine I was reading out the dictionary. What does that word mean? Oh well, let me type it into Wikipedia. Okay, nigger. Well, it's a derogatory term used for slave populations of Black African Americans who were taken by force over to America or whatever. Fair enough. Am I not able to read that out because it contains the word? This is bullshit, fucking mental fucking manipulation. This is controlling the utmost level. Now, should I say it like any other derogatory term? Should I use this term and point it towards somebody? That's a different matter. And even still, it's my prerogative, right? I can say what I like to people. Who's going to tell me otherwise? It's not a crime to say something mean. It's not a crime do you know what I mean? But now it seems to be a crime to say a word, just even saying it. And of course, that's why I do say it. That's why I do say it in a sense, because no one will tell me what to say. Why will they tell me what to say? What can I not say? What can I say? Who's going to tell me? If you're going to tell me that I can't say the word like that, the nigger word, right, which is a reference, it's obviously a derogatory term. It's like calling a chink or a paddy, a dumb paddy, a mick, that sort of thing. There's negative connotations attached to it, and there's seeming history attached as well. That's okay though. But in terms of a word being banned, we can fucking go against the principles or what the people involved, why they were called that, and the reasons they were called that. We can ultimately object to that, but you can't say a word because it offends what? It offends what? It offends a memory, a collective history. Ireland have been fucking persecuted for 800 years. I'm king of Era. What do I have though? What do I want? First of all, I don't want anything. I'm king of Era of my own right. We're not of this world. But yeah, everything's been stolen from us. Every word. You call me a Mick, they call the fucking dumbass fucking 100 times a day. This is neuro-linguistic programming, and it's sort of limitations being set on your imagination in a sense. It isn't ultimately. I think it's the opposite is going to be achieved, which is what it was set out to do, which is expand your mind and understand the distinction. The best way to learn is by immediate contradiction. And that's why if you're paying attention, there should be contradictions in your life everywhere, especially when it comes to your own personal terms of reasoning, rationale, and let's say the media, the different narratives associated with the greater world events are the things coming from the news, the north, south, east, and west. Yeah. Now, I just gave you an instance there where it's okay to quote the word nigger. Now, also, if I put on some fucking music, if I wrote a rap song and not pretended or commented on my ideas regarding the ghetto, what groups, what bands they were in, what sort of clubs they were in, what fucking words they used, I could get away with that, no problem. But I can't say the fucking word itself. This is the fucking insane society that we're in. But we just forget who we are. I guess even if it costs you, well, what are you going to fucking do? What are you going to do? Stick to it. Don't call anyone stuff like that. You don't do that. That's a horrible term to say about anybody. It's the most derogatory thing. But the word itself, though, is not fucking illicit to say. It can't be. Who's going to determine then how far? Well, actually, this is the nature of this reality. What you can say now, but I will say it, is the word hoax. You can't say that the fucking shootings are a hoax. You can't say 9/11 was a hoax because according to new guidelines of all these corporate institutions like YouTube or Discord or I don't know about TikTok. I guess everything has come on to suck you in. You see, they give you the idea at the start that there's freedom of expression, but suddenly then when everyone is invested, they take away the freedoms because now everyone is a fucking snowflake. You can't comment on anything for fear of offending or upsetting anybody. You can't be past remarkable. And doesn't this go against the very nature of these platforms to begin with, where they encourage you and even sell it to you as a free speech platform, especially YouTube and anything I'm talking about now? Look at all the flat earth stuff that's been deleted. I know what's going on in the greater sense. This is all Remember, I said that this is all a game of clues. So everything has been deleted in the past in YouTube because it's in a certain way the clues have been solved. There's still an active, ongoing puzzle in play, and the people who haven't access to all the information that you say flat earthers can recall or bring our minds back to, they have access to truth in a different way. So I think, in a certain sense, we're all in a level playing field. But yeah, we can see through these what do you call it, these structures. I guess that's why I can say this sort of stuff as well. I'm not monetized. This is not a commercial enterprise. I'm not trying to make money. I'm not trying to appease. I understand that the hangout last night, I just expected it. But it was simple enough. It was just brought down. There's no copyright strike. It was just, yeah, someone made, Spaceman the Killer has made a claim just for copyrighted material. And yeah, all I had to do was just remove it, and the hangout is back up again. And it was a good hangout, and I enjoyed chatting to Sheila somewhat. Thought she was very insistent. If you're here, Sheila, I put the link in chat again. You can come in, but it's like any sort of introduction or reintroduction. We've got to take it little steps at a time. And I think the whole thing fucking turned very sour very quickly when everything started. We've been rape and pillaging and Armageddon and man's bestial nature was being dwelled upon. I don't know your direct experiences. You don't know mine. It's and sort of tamed everything in that way, and to give that sort of bent or leaning towards the future conversation, then definitely not good. I don't think it was good at all. I don't think it was good at all, because I certainly have different points of view and point of view and opinion on it. So you know what I mean. So that's how I felt that the conversation sort of went away from wherever I would have taken it. When I asked you direct questions, then you were sort of humming and hawing, half-hearted about it. So I didn't trust you in that way, Sheila. I have to say that. And that you wouldn't go on camera as well. I didn't trust you in that way as well. I'm too familiar with actors playing their part, and it's too easy for me to catch people out. That's why no one, it's not that everyone loves me, I think, in a way, but no one likes dealing with me, because I sort of get to the heart of things. I get to the root, the basics of things pretty quickly, and understanding that this is the greatest arena that there is in existence. All fucking history is fabricated. All the heroes, the giants that you place as separate from your own being, they're all fucking fabricated. That's not to say that there's no geniuses in play. We're all geniuses in a way, but of course there are great minds. But the official fucking historic narrative is bollocks. All of it. All of it. All of it. Get your monkeypox. Get your monkeypox mask and vax pack. Yeah, remember I was mentioning that's the next thing you've got to work on. Worry about that. Make a fucking fortune out of it. That's how things develop, isn't it? Ideas are put out there, views and ideas are asserted. Certain ideas become acceptable, others don't, and then with time, it becomes it becomes a crime or a sin to sort of broach the idea or criticism or questioning regarding the initial idea in the first place. As if any fucking man has any authority over any other man. Are any men in here tonight? Who has authority over you, tell me? Any men or women? Hello, good servant, my friend. I know what you're going to say. How you doing, bud? I'll get into chat in a second. I just saw you there. How you doing, bud? I haven't seen you in ages and ages. There's a link in chat if you want to jump in for a chat. Wouldn't that be a great chat after all this time? Flat Sabbath. How you doing, bud? I'll go back up to the names. What is it? Hig Gift. How you doing, bud? Yeah. Every one of you jump in, take it your own man. Who has authority over you? Of course, I recognize that the Creator has authority over me. I'd be nothing without the Creator. But in terms of this environment, this existence, this setting, who has authority? If you're going to say government has authority over you, I'll say to you, well, hang on. I haven't taken any oaths. I haven't sworn any allegiance. They've sworn allegiance to serve me. Well, of course, all the language is fucking twisted around. But if we take it at face value, they've taken an oath to serve me, whoever they are. These people, politicians. You know, actually, remember, did I tell you? I don't think I told it on my channel here. Who did I meet again up the road? Morris Quinlivan, type of man. I mentioned it before on my channel. When was that? About a week ago, I say. And his mother lives just I'm in Devil Air Park here in Limerick. Type it in. Go into fucking Google Earth, you'll find the house, my family home, or just myself and my mother. My mother's great. And my mother's like fucking, what is she, 76 now, but she's fucking fantastic. She looks like she's a woman of 50, and she's loads of energy. So there's no one taking advantage of anyone here. But it is the family home. And this is Devil Air Park in Limerick. And next block up, which is the other side of the next block, who lives there but Morris Quinlivan, a TD, a Chuck the Dolta, a TD, which is very significant as well. Why it's TD. Irish is a very significant language. I'd love to speak to I'd love to be friends with someone who has fluent Irish, or we could engage in Irish, because I just need some sort of motivation to try decode it. But Irish is a very significant language. Anyway, one of the, what would you say, it's about 100 and, I don't know, 100 throughout the country is about that's the 26 counties, yeah. There's about 120 odd or something like that, 125 TDs. And he's one of them. If you equate that to America, a good servant, I know you're American. So think about the houses of the Senate, not the House, the representatives, whatever. Just, everyone elected in the whole country. So you wouldn't have too much access or easy access to any of these characters. You wouldn't expect to meet them on the street. I met him a few times, Morris Quinlivan. He got elected on the back of his Sinn Féin, Ourselves Alone, Connections Associations. His brother was listed as one of the top IRA men. So I wasn't even speaking to him on that, but now he's official. What's he done? Fucking betrayed us all. And every time I saw him, I fucking said the same thing to him. But his mother happened to be there at the time. I was just waiting for a bus to go into town, and his mother happened to come out. Or actually, I saw he drove up, and he got out of the car. I said, "Well, Morris, he knows me, like." I said, "Well, Morris, he doesn't know my name or anything, but he knows I've hassled him before. Well, Morris, how you getting on? You're after getting over the Corona hoax." He was driving a lovely fucking 221 car, so a brand new electric car and everything like that. I said, "Yeah, you're continuing to profit from." He just walked away, just fobbed me off. I said, "Yeah, you're continuing," as he walked down to his mother. I said, "Yeah, you're continuing to fob me off, but remember this, man, you fucking work for me. And when the time comes, you won't be able to fucking say that you didn't know about it." I reminded him about a few things, the Corona hoax, one of them, flat Earth fucking hoax, or sorry, globe Earth hoax, and lots of other hoaxes as well. But his mother came out, and I wasn't overly doing it as well. I fucking want some answers from these people who've taken over to me. There's a rare chance you get to say anything. But his mother came out, and she called me. She called me. I'm very proud of my son. I wasn't even talking to her. I said, "Ma'am, is that your son there? He's supposed to work for me." And he said, "Oh, he doesn't work for you at all." Or he said it as well. "I don't work for you at all." And she goes, I'm very proud of my son. You're a scumbag." I did say, "How dare you? How dare you, miss? How dare you say I'm a scumbag? I'm not a scumbag. I'm questioning somebody who works for me as to why some of the wrongs that have been done onto the Irish people have not been addressed." And then they just went away. But as I said to him, I'm happy I said that to him. I said, when the time comes, you can't fucking say you didn't know. You can't fucking say you didn't know. But he takes an oath to serve me. That's the fucking trickery of the English language. He doesn't take an oath to serve me. He takes an oath to serve himself. He understands that I don't serve myself. I think I'm a legal name. He's serving fucking legal names. There's no obligation. There's no greater obligation. It's written in the fucking fine print. They have to fucking spiritually, how would you say, protect themselves. It has to be ultimately your choice. You volunteer. It's a voluntary system. And I'm not saying it's bad to be a part of the system. We are the ones who've been wronged here. These are the fucking profiteers. But the thing is that the fraud is exposed, and there can be no imposition on the living man to participate in a fraud, knowing that's a fraud. This is a rule. This is a fucking decree from the Creator. So that's how I know this isn't a fucking evolutionary dog eat dog, winner takes all scenario that's going on. There's a greater scheme in place. There's a greater unfolding. There's a greater reasoning in place. And I've said many times as well, in a sense, we're in the book of Job. We are Job. So we are being tested. But there is a resolution. There is, there is a justification for reconciliation. There has to be. If not, and I said this, I only said it to someone, I wanted to say it yesterday, maybe yesterday in town. Hall was his name, from Clare. I said, well, only if I'm a flat earther, I'd be over the bridge. I'd have no hope. If I was still an evolutionary, spinning ball earther, evolutionary man, and I came to find out about all the different sort of power structures in play, all the different lies in play, I'd have no hope whatsoever. I would be thinking to myself that this is a game that these fuckers have been playing for thousands and thousands of years, and they perfected it to such a degree. They've twisted everything. They've turned men against women. They've turned families against families. And their ultimate goal is, yes, conquer by division. So I would have had no hope, and I would have said that the only outlet is ending it all, to be or not to be. Maybe in a sense this is Hamlet's dilemma, but I came to flat Earth, the saving grace, knowing that there's a higher purpose, higher reason behind everything we do and everything we experience, and everything is ultimately controlled. Everything is ultimately controlled by, the Most High. What are you going to say? It has to be. There's no other conclusion I can come to. So that makes continuation possible. That hope of resolution. What do you reckon? Well, friends, I see you just looking out there. There's no point in showing you. You won't be able to discern it. But dragon head, and a dragon, let's say in full flight with the wings back, aerodynamically sound through the sky, imprinted on the cloud structure. And what that means, you tell me. In Ireland here, the sun, so light comes in. So what light is a different matter. Light, as we perceive it, is is the visible light, and it is a tiny aspect of the sun's light, according to the official story. In reality, how we perceive light is the sun's invisible energy rays interacting with the water. The dew rests in the ground when the sun goes away. So when the sun comes back, it bombards the individual particulates of water, and we get to actually see via this interaction, this scintillation process. Everything is visual, but yet in Ireland here, the light comes along before we see the sun, at least from whatever level. It always depends on how high you are. The higher you are, the earlier you'll see the sun approaching. But in Ireland here, and I know it's going to reach a peak around 21st of June or whatever. But daylight now is about half four, and what time is it now? It's just gone dark. It's gone dark about 20 minutes now. You could say whatever time it is now. So what's that? Let's say about 10:30. Now, the reason I mention this is last night we went down pretty late, but I went out to the window afterwards, and as I'm looking across over a flat plane, obviously, dickheads, what's wrong with you? You live in a flat plane. You're central to the universe in a sense. We are central, but it's not that we're sort of uniquely special. Then, of course, we are predominant over the earth, but there's a myriad of different life forms. The bird outside your window is wondrous beyond measure. Do you know what I mean? It depends on what value you place in everything. We are special, but everything is special. Anyway. Looking out the front window facing north, you can see it. I should track it, but I already have a sort of extrapolation in my brain. But there's a light way over there past the north center. So the north pole is up around here, which is or the north pole. Polaris is up around here as I'm pointing now in this direction. So that's north direction. So south is over here at the window. But the sun travels around, but I can see the light, the dim light on the horizon, way in the distance. And I know if I track it, it will move across. And in the space of, 6 hours at this point in time, then that sun, that source of the illumination will be back in my vicinity, and then daylight will begin again. It's obvious that we're on a surface that isn't moving, but the lights are moving around us. So especially at these times, we can appreciate that. Of course, with the ball Earth, it's been developed so intimately and so explicitly that there's an answer for everything. But there's not one, and I asked this question over in Gem Panda, and shout out to Gem Panda, by the way, Jeremy, who found out that he was a grandfather again today. So yeah, brilliant for Jem. But and he's probably doing a show right now. If you're interested, I encourage you to go over and listen to what the officialdom has to say. But that's on Humans of Earth, and you'll easily find that just with a search on YouTube, and you'll find the eye, almost like an eye. It's a sort of a flat Earth eye representation, if you're interested. But yeah, these are all the sort of pivotal arguments that are defended on either side. There's a dichotomy in place. You're flat, you're globe. But when it comes to what's obvious, that's what I've challenged I've challenged every ball earther, and I've met some of the best brain. You might think best brain, best brains, Brian, best brains, Brian. Now, two, I've challenged the best brains to give any example whatsoever, according to the model and everything, every basic principle they must cling to and adhere to show a practical example that we can all relate to and make inroads into accepting the model. There's not one I can find yet. There's not one, because they have to justify from the very outset an Earth's surface that's in motion. They have to justify curved water. They have to justify antipodal positions. They have to justify pressure without a container. They have to justify a massive ball of gas in a vacuum that the sun is 100 million miles away. They have to justify everything. Only the argumentation and mathematics. They can never validate it. They can never show it, demonstrate it. And I challenge any ball earther to give me just one fucking miserly example. Just one. Because I'm believed nowhere. In real life, I'm believed nowhere. When people find out the truth, though, find out how foolish they were. That's not too much to ask for, is it? Won't get it, though. Won't get anything at all. Excuse me, please. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Okay, I just thought of a song I'm going to sing because I meant to sing it today, and I think it's still early enough that I can get away with it. So, here we go. Remember, I was saying earlier on, all of these presentations given to all of these superstars, these celebrities, they are all let in on the secret. So everything that they offer up is a clue for you. They already know greater context for their existence anyway, and they're already put in place themselves. They're puppets. They're promoted, and they're given their script to a greater or lesser degree. So this song is most pertinent. I think everything that happens in our lives has to be significant, because this was another one of myself and my Steve's favorite songs, and he was like whatever 6 or 7, as we used to listen to it regularly driving around or doing whatever. But it's only later I came to realize it. I don't know, should I tell you at the start what it's about? We should all know ultimately for males and females as well, because it's the same thing that sort of binds us or connects us. But the name of it is Ballad of a Thin Man. What does that? Now this isn't my decoding. I heard that somewhere else, and I was going, "Fucking hell, yeah, that has to be it." But it's just in the greater context then of flat Earth and beyond, and what it all sort of boils down to, what it all comes back to. Yeah, Ballad of a Thin Man. So I'm just going to say, I'll leave it till the end. Leave it till the end to tell you. So let's see how this goes. I can give it a blast out. Let me see what time it is. Yeah, just about squeeze it in now because it's coming up to midnight. 20 minutes to midnight. And I'll do well to remember all the words, but I'll do my best. Hello, Jed. How you doing, bud? I put the link. Up there, Jed. I'll play one more song, and you're welcome to join. A little bit of a brief chat if you want, or anyone else. But this song, what if you're in chat? Ballad of a Thin Man. What if it's all sort of coded talk, what would that suggest to you first of all? So yeah, just pay attention to the lyrics if you care to. If you don't, that's okay as well. But I'll sing the song. It's called "Ballad of a Thin Man" by Bob Dylan, and in a way, it can. Well, how would I say? It connects everything. It connects to David Bowie. It connects to Stanley Kubrick. It connects to 9/11. It connects to Hugh and me. Yew is an interesting word. Hue, Hew, hue trees, don't you? Um, okay, let's see what you make of this. So, Ballad of a Thin Man, Bob Dylan. You walk into the room with your pencil in your hand. You see somebody naked and you say, "Who is that man?" You try so hard, but you just don't understand just what you're gonna say when you get home. Something is happening and you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. Jones? You raise up your hand, you ask, "Is this where it is?" And somebody points to you and says, "It's his." You say, "What's mine?" And somebody else says, "Well, what is?" And you say, "Oh my God, am I here all alone?" Something is happening, but you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. Jones? You hand in your ticket, you go watch the geek, who immediately walks up to you when he hears you speak. He says, "How does it feel to be such a freak?" And you say, "Impossible," as he hands you a bone. And something is happening, but you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. John. Had many contacts on the lumberjacks who would get you facts when someone attacked your imagination. Anyway, you already expect. Anyway, they have no respect. You just give a check to tax deductible charity organization. You've been with the professors and they've all liked your looks. With great lawyers you discuss lepers and crooks. You've read all of F. Scott Fitzgerald's books. Now you are very well read. It's well known. Something is happening, but you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. John? The sword swallower comes up to you and he heals. He crosses himself and he clicks his high heels. Without further notice, he asks you how it feels and says, "Here's your throwback, thanks for the loan." Something is happening, but you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. John? The one-eyed midget is shouting the word now. You say, "What do you mean?" He says, "How? What are you talking about?" And he says, "Man, you're a coward. Here is some milk. Thanks for the loan." Something is happening, but you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. John? You walk into the room like a camel and you frown. Put your eyes in your pocket and your nose to the ground. There ought to be a law against you coming around. Well, you should be made to wear earphones. Something is happening, but you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. Jones? Something is happening, but you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. Jones? Right, there you go, friends. That would have been take one. I would have done a lot of things differently there. Got a bit of few lyrics wrong. Too bad though for impromptu effort, but I did forget to sing that recently. So yeah, well, I think the second last verse is most significant. The one-eyed midget, the Jap's eye. This is a fucking song about the dick. Mr. Jones is something different, something different. But yeah, every one of those lyrics are associated with the penis and pleasure. Ballad of a Thin Man. Your thin man is your penis. So go through the lyrics. If you know the song, brilliant. Now you look at it in a different light. As I said, I'm not decoding it like this. But yeah, it's obvious now what it's about. And well, it's obvious what fucking everything's about anyway, isn't it? So yeah, I hope that came through okay. Let me put the link in chat again, just in case anyone else wants to join in. Let me go through the. Let me go through the chatters here. What about the old days? Right? Do we want the old days back? I'm not sure. Do we do? Dawn to Dusk, Instacart Shopper. How you doing, man? Is that you, Dawn? Could be Dawn Treader. Um, Gin Smell. Hello, bud. Nice one. Well, it's not a show. What the fuck am I doing? I'm just a fucking guy here saying things. But I definitely could talk about a lot of things. But I actually think more and more there's less and less point. Who are you talking to at the end of the day? Do you know what I mean? As I said many times now, this is more definitely along the way I'm thinking. I'm not joking or anything. It's the ability for me to talk openly and, well, relatively freely. I can say the nigger word on my own channel here, can't I? If YouTube, if I get a strike or something for what ungainly language, well, that's bad. I'm not encouraging any hate. I actually do the opposite. I say love your fellow man, but don't let anyone control your thoughts. What will they be doing next? You'll have to report your dreams. You know, even if you have thoughts, well, words are just a sort of expression of intent. It's all about the power that you put into the word, and you can say the worst of words sometimes, and the person you're talking to in real life will appreciate that you mean it in the best of terms. If you can say the worst of words in other times under other conditions, and the person that they're aimed at can get it exactly as they were meant, which is full of hatred or bad malintent or whatever. So yeah, this is not. Yeah, this is what do you do here? It's a fucking slippery slope, isn't it? It's a slippery slope. I'm known as a conspiracy theorist. Oh, Pete, he's the conspiracy theorist. Stupid fucking shit. Stupid shit to think that we've all been fooled in life. We've all been fooled in life on a personal level. To think that shit doesn't happen on a massive level when we know intrinsically that it does on a greater super structure, higher power level. Of course it has to. So yeah, we know intrinsically that it does, but yet we're so offended by alternative points of view or alternative expressions. Who are we fucking kidding here? Do you know what I mean? Who are we kidding here? And I'd rather be on my own than be in a false relationship or not, or be in a seeming loving or a bonding relationship where I can't express my obvious and surface thoughts, not to mind my deeper feelings. So this is ridiculous. What are we? See, the trick is that well, it's a trick, but we were always meant to fucking figure out that the the magician didn't have a fucking magic hat or something. He had the rabbit shoved up his arse all the time, you know? And the rabbit survived because it had a little fucking rabbit gas mask on. So that's clear enough. But we were always meant to figure that out, you know what I mean? Anyway, the point is that, yeah, it's not deception for the sake of it. It's not deception for the sake of greater sort of power grabbing or benefit. This is a how would you say it, man? Think about the separation between your waking reality and your dream reality. Put it like that. It's just a different version of reality. So it all comes back to your individual notions on your thoughts and experiences. Most of the time, we are sort of weighed down, we're bogged down. This is the beauty of drugs in a sense. Why do you have a drink? It alleviates. Too much of it, though, it'll fucking poison you. But not for me. You might think I'm a fucking alcoholic. I wouldn't blame you for thinking that. I'm not. I'm not. I could easily go up drink. It's not a problem. And I don't overdo it. Actually, so I have water here, right? So I topped it up. And I think that's a great idea, actually. I'll drink a lot less just by topping it up with water. I don't even need it. I already know that we have a certain balance within our system. And we all can equate to this, male or female, I'm thinking. So think about when you go in, you're in good form, and you're looking forward to being in better form because you're going to have a few drinks. After about two drinks, it's like midway between two and three drinks, depending on what you're having. But it's a fine balance. And when you reach it, right, then you're there. You have to stop there because everything after that, you're sort of overdosing in a sense, and you're always sort of chasing back what you were looking for in terms of that frame of mind at that particular time in coordination with the body as it is. What would you call it? It is drugged. It is drugged. So that's poison. It's poison. It's not good for us at all. It's good for the mentality, but it's not good for the body. It is poison, but it's just a sort of a lower level thing. It eventually gets to you, but if you can control it, you're okay. So that's what I might do from here on in. I'll cut myself. When I say cut myself back, well, how many cans have I had? So when I go in busking, I buy 4-pack just because I'm playing away for 2 or 3 hours, and it's okay. But yeah, and then I buy maybe 4 or 5 cans on the way back. So maybe 9 cans. I'm happy with that. It's okay. That's not too long over the course of like fucking a 7 or 8 hour period. Can an hour. It's okay. But I could probably cut down that to half, no problem, with topping it up with water. And especially because I realize once you're at that certain level, but between two and three drinks, then you're at that pivotal and almost perfect point if you can just maintain that balance. So, um, but yeah, I haven't heard of your gin smell. Gin smell, is it? Gin smell. Yeah, so it's not a show as such, gin smell. I might have been, I might have put a lot more effort in early doors. I do wonder more and more what's the point anymore. But everything for a reason, I guess. Everything for a reason. And, well, I'd say what I have to say. So, yeah, as I said, I'm going to cut it relatively short tonight and maybe save the rest of the hours for the next time. And as I said last time, if I what, 20 hours, so I'm about 15 hours in. So if I go 2 hours tonight, that'll leave me with like maybe 2.5 hours next time. So even if I leave myself with 10 minutes or 5 minutes or 1 minute, then the next show after that, I can go on for fucking hours then. So there's no penalty. But yeah, Ian Adams, that's a name I haven't heard in a while, Ian. And it's so many people. There's so many people come and go, right? And it's difficult to keep track on everyone and sort of recollect as well. But yeah, definitely we had, and I can't remember who I'm fighting with or who I'm not. Definitely remember how you doing, Turret. Definitely remember having some sort of disagreement with you, Turret. But I don't think it was too serious anyway, or at least it didn't stick in my mind so much. Um, Probably came back to fucking Nathan Oakley or something and just calling out people who should be called out. You know what I mean? And there's no excuse for not calling them out, which is okay though as well. As you know, I haven't been back in Nathan Oakley's participating in chat anyway. I listen in occasionally, and I don't take it away from the arguments that are brought forth there. But there's a catch to everything. There's always a catch to everything. So beyond a certain point, then you have to, I think, by necessity, lose interest because you've heard all the arguments before. So okay, I've come to understand that I've been fed a whole lot of bollocks. So what did the bollocks feeders who gave me all of this bollocks, their bollocks, what did they know? You know what I mean? It's one thing to say that, oh, okay, I've seen through your bollocks, and now I'm just going to go around and question everything like I'm a new little flower after popping up. No, you'll fucking find out what they know. You'll find out what they know. That's what you do. Or you can, well, you will apply your own being as well, but you'll find out what they know. You'll know that the truth is in place, or at least a greater version of the truth, or greater or lesser version of the truth is in place, because that's how they compose the lie, whoever they are. So you know what I mean. That's where limitations are sort of reached, recognized, and breached. And you have to say there's something else going on. So that's where I'm passionate as well, because I'll tell you something for nothing. I've been painted a fucking demon on all sides, I would say. A lot of sides, and it doesn't matter, but on a lot of sides. A lot of sides. Lots of stuff that I talked about over the years should have been picked up by flat earthers almost immediately, but it wasn't. The only conclusion I could come to, of course, there's a few conclusions that are possible on the table. I'm a fucking nutter. I'm a dumbass. I'm suffering from Dunning-Kruger. I'm some sort of mentally affected a cripple who was just whose only saving grace is this interaction online, because he's lost his family, he's lost his son and everything, and he's no one in his life. All of these things are possible, but it's not the truth. I know there's more going on than that. I weighed all these things up myself. This has nothing to do with personality. When it comes to this arena, this is about what you can. It's not about demonstrate so much, because nothing can be demonstrated about the spinning ball, but it's about what you can defend. And it's not so much what you can defend in terms of a model present. That's why it's a tough gig being a ball earther, or it's a tough gig all around. I should imagine being a human being if you fucking swallow all the fucking bullshit that the official stories have to give you. I don't give a fuck if you're a male or a female or a child or an old person. I don't care. You're only fucking selling yourself short, and that's the biggest crime. That's the biggest fucking crime. That's the biggest crime. I miss Sirius. Sirius has gone from the night sky now. Well, it's not gone. It's gone over that way, but it's not gone over in a circular fashion. It's gone over in a sort of like a race track, like a Olympic track in the sky. It's gone over in that way, in that fashion over there, and the sun has just coincided with it on its path. It's just like me. You know those little crib for the little baby, and they have the lights projecting around. Well, the minute you turn, or the minute daylight comes, the thing can be still working, but you can't see shit. That's what's happening with the sun. It's just a greater drown. Yeah, funny enough, I was drowned or outer, so it drowns out the prevailing light. And that's why no one on Earth can see Sirius, whereas a couple of months ago we could. Now, of course, the ball Earth has different explanations for this, but it's not true. It's not true. Now, what does it matter that it's not true, though? That's what I ask myself, who am I talking to? I could write loads of books on this stuff, and definitely and I'm only talking about I'm not going to say the surface thinking I've done, but I certainly haven't sat down and tried to structure a book and tried to do advanced research on the notions I have, but on those bare and basic notions alone, I could write 5 books. I'm not joking you on that. And I'm not just talking. I'm talking about all of the stuff pretty much unheard of before. Not that anything is new coming from me, but it's just it's just a sort of flat earth and beyond. It's an association of core. I'm not going to say core truths, but developments beyond the core basic realizations, right? And of course, I am a flat earther, but I'm not a flat earther. The earth does move. Something moves, and it's part of the earth. So you have to say in that sense that the earth does move. It's just like saying the engine in your car, that's sitting still, isn't it? Well, it is, but inside it, it's as you're in neutral, parked up or something. Inside it, though, the fucking thing is moving away. So you can't say the engine is still without clarifying. Same thing with the earth. The earth is everything surrounded, or everything that's within this greater bubble, right? And the only thing we can think in terms of is a bubble, womb terms. It's waters beyond. We're surrounded within, waters beyond. It's all just a fucking dream. It's all a fucking dream. It's all a dream. It's all a venture into materialism. The material world is an expression of an immaterial thought. What else is that? We accepted the opposite long enough where it was nothing. It was nothing at all. Which would you rather choose? It's nothing at all, or here we are in an expression of, what would you call it? A degraded expression of a higher thought. Yeah, I'd rather go with that than all of this, than believing all of this fucking complexity and all of this wonder and all of this potential glory, unity um, comes from nothing. It's impossible. That's absolutely impossible. But yeah, as I said, it's not even dark now. There's still a fucking hint of light coming in. It's not dark, dark. It's like winter dark. But as I look over the north, if I went out to the front window, I'll be able to see this glowing on the horizon. And I know if I stood there and just looked, and I'm down at ground level here, and I notice things are blocking, but I can still see it lighting up the sky. It just travels around. So for all the world, it's the sun traveling around. And in summertime, it's nearer to our core center, and then at wintertime for us, it's further around. So you see less of it. You see less of it. I think everyone can observe this. I guess the problem is we just don't do the necessary thinking, isn't it? We don't go to the necessary effort. Doesn't matter. Remember I mentioned last night about Sarah Gary and how fucking clever, excuse my language, how smart, clever she was, even though she didn't believe anything about herself. And she proved it, but she didn't know it. You just don't try. Or people I guess genders have different emphasis. But don't sell yourself short. I guess it's about your desire. What questions would you like to broach? What questions would you like to share? I always said to Sarah that if you care, and in a personal way as well, because I was always alone in a sense. I said, Sarah, if you care about somebody, you have to care about the things they care about. If I can't talk to you about things, who can I talk to? What are you going to say? I'm going to find if I imagine I met a girl at work or something, or you met another man at work and you or wherever, and you can easily more talk to them about the things that are concerning you than you can to me. What then? I guess maybe we shouldn't be with one another. But only because I think the way I think that if you care about somebody, you care about the things they care about. But I think that we're just way differently as well. Male and female are way differently, and maybe ultimately the best unification comes from the most diverse division. I don't know. Someone asked me earlier on what was Earth, because I was asking other people what Earth was, and I said, well, my best way of thinking about it is, as I said before here, well, two trees connected, right? Massive trees, whatever size you want. Massive trees, though, absolutely massive. So the tree is cut. So think about the whole of the Earth's surface, flat Earth surface, as being sort of aspect of the tree. Just massive distance into the sky, whatever we relate to as distance. The distance related to time and our ability to traverse to time. If we could travel, let's say, 1,000,000 miles in 5 minutes, like a bird. Think about a bird, how fast it can fly from here to there. If we could do that because we had wings and the tree was intact, then it mightn't seem so high to us. But anyway, so two trees, one opposing the other, down and above. We're on this side, and the tree is cut, right? But the tree below, let's say the two things were intact. They're played in the center, some sort of middle ground, and yeah, they're energized and they're separating the waters from Earth realm. So we have a circle below, or sort of sphere below, massive sphere below, plate in the center, small plate in the center, and then a massive sphere above. Now, because the tree above is cut, which is where we're at, all of us in Underland, the barrier is collapsed, right? Into, and then there's a sort of a giant hollow in the center because all trees rot from the inside out. This is why the North Center here we have the giant hollow, and the root is digging through from the other side, looking for purchase. Where it was previously connected, now it's disconnected, so it's doing the movement around while we are at the surface level and we're not moving at all. We should be connected, but we're disconnected. But that movement is being emanated or transmitted through, as we perceive it, anyway, through the skylights movement. So that's the way I see it. So if I zoom well back into the distance, let's say 1,000,000 miles into the waters beyond, or 100,000 miles, or 1,000 miles, it doesn't matter, and I take a side-on view, what I see is an eyeball. In reality, if everything was intact as it was as it was before, let's say when the tree was intact above and below, well then we have just like a fucking an 8 ball cue ball on top of a cue ball, and U man H U man. That's the way I see it. So yeah, because the tree is cut at the top, now we just have like what looks like an eyeball from the side, an eyeball. So it's mostly rotund, mostly spherical, but we have this flat patch along the top. That's the way I see it. And the heaven is below. Bear this in mind. Well, I don't want to trick you. Well, who am I to tell you anything? Who am I to tell you anything? Well, you know everything already. But let me just say it anyway and say, well, when we shed this mortal coil and you're asked which way do you want to go? Do you want to go up or down? In life, I think we have to have learned that we are all upturned, uprooted. So you want to go down. Heaven is below. Above is just cold waters. That's hell. Everything is inverted. The devil deals in frost. About the flame, the spirit, the fire. Right? How can that be associated with God and the devil? The devil deals in frost, yeah. Jack Frost. The devil takes feeling away, takes the warmth away, right? Yeah, don't forget it. I'm not saying don't forget it. Do what you want. I haven't seen anything too extraordinary in the sky recently. There's extraordinary things all around. I have a picture of my. Actually, I should show you my picture on my phone. Actually, I hang on to it because it's pillars of creation. Remember, I was talking about that you are capable of capturing this, clarifying to yourself then there's some association between your near ground and the very, very, very far background, and working your way from there, I guess. So I could show you that. That'd probably be easy to do now. But I won't do that because I know you can collect those images at any time, but you have to be patient because everything is a constant dynamic sort of state of affairs. Everything's moving around, and yeah, you have to sort of time it. So you have to collate images. You have to have a sort of context for what you might be looking at, and then you recognize, and you will be bound by certainty to identify the pattern. Then you'll be able to see through the metaphor that is ultimately the spinning ball earth and everything associated with it. Who gave us the spinning ball earth? Ultimately, in its current form, Aristarchus or Samus. The man didn't exist. None of these characters existed. So the story is told, and it's a series of clues. What does it benefit any of us to make inroads into any of this? As you know, I'm on my own talking about this. I don't think there's anyone else on Earth. On Earth. Past or present, Pete. That's fucking something to say, isn't it? Past or present, who is talking like this about uh, such a significant thing, such a significant matter. Now, what do I do? What does it matter? Maybe it matters everything. Who knows? Maybe it matters everything. Maybe as one man or someone or one figures out some clues, then the idea is spread or the idea is made more readily available because the clue has been decoded. You know, whatever the greater hand is in play, if everything's scripted out, who knows? Who knows? Doesn't seem to in our limited view anyway, profit too much being a conspiracy-minded person. And to be a conspiracy-minded person is just it's just being fucking normal. What are you saying? You never got the internet? What are you saying? You have no interest in asking or considering greater questions? What are you saying here? Who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? Anyway, yeah, nice one, Turret. So I hope you're doing well after. I know you got the vaccination. It was the last time I was talking to you, but I'm sure it was something to do with Nathan Oakley anyway and some falling out or other. But that's okay, man. I don't. Um, yeah, it's been a while, and I don't recall absolutely as well, but I'm sure there was a falling out. Anyway, Ian Adams says, "Do you think the moon is a hologram?" I think the moon have some great inroads made into the. Remember, I showed you there on one of my recent hangouts that I showed you all my images. So I suggest anyone go back. The reason I did that is because um, well, it's all there in a sense. I and all throughout those images, there's a couple of hundred of them, and I have about 600 more. There's more than a couple of hundred actually, but there's about 600 more on my other hard drive. But it leads me to the conclusion that what we're dealing with is ultimately reflections. The moon is a reflection of the sun. A hologram is a good way of putting it in a sense, but it's not a sort of a plain or easily recognizable hologram. When I say that all craters on the moon are one crater, it's a holographic or more particularly a kaleidoscopic expression of the same crater as what we see at the moon. So everything looks like disparate and separate. It's a reflection of solidity. You can call it a hologram. Yeah, I guess you can call it a hologram, but it's a little bit more. It needs a little bit more detail than that. I guess how about a kaleidoscopic expression of a hologrammatic reality, which is the so ultimately remember I said the two trees. The tree is cut this side, which is the we live on countries. The cunt is the opening. The cunt is the gap. It's a giant hollow at the center, and it's inundated with water. So it's a wet cunt. I'm just saying you can't say country without saying cunt. Now, what am I supposed to do with that? Not say the word country? My mother was afraid to say the word country because it contained the word cunt. The word cunt. I'm going. Why? Why? How can you say? How can you not say that? It's still one word. Why don't you say it? Wouldn't say it because she hates one word, but yet that word is contained within another word. And I'm saying that's not incidental. That's not accidental. This is all purposefully put. So, in other words, we have the giant hollow at the center. The root is sticking through from the other side. This is Osiris. Osiris's penis. This is Isis and Osiris. Anyway, the root is sticking through from the other side. Mount Meru. Mount Marut. Mount Marut. Groot. So the root is sticking through from the other side. Under ideal conditions, the trees on top, the root connections are intertwined. So you have a greater interplay between what's happening below and above. So the root now is sticking through from the other side. At the north center, the giant hollow, inundated with water, crater-like, and the light that's emanating, or it's more the energy, it's darkness, I think, up there, but the energy that's emanating there is now interacting with the waters beyond, and it's creating our our visual acumen, if you want. This is how we see via the interaction. Remember I said earlier on, between the sunlight and the dew on the ground. When the sun comes, everything is pitch black otherwise. When the sun comes around, it bombards the shit. It's Luke Skywalker. That's what it is. A laser beam. The sun is an imposition. One second. Right. Well, the sun is an imposition here. So Luke Skywalker, laser light, right? Han Solo. Anyway, yeah, the sun is an imposition. It's not a natural state of affairs. So the alarm is about to go off here now. Anyway, yeah, we gotta understand this. This is it's paramount we understand this. I think that you know. Um, it's the interaction between these energies that's why I mentioned light in the first place, or visible light, which allows us to see. Well, yeah, it's the water itself that is causing us to be able to visibly appreciate what's going on. It's part of the nature of things. But ultimately, going back to what the sun is, well, going back to Aristarchus, the tree is cut, the root is sticking through, it's shining up its energies, but invisible energies, but it's reacting, it's withholding the waters beyond. So it's this interaction between the source energies and the waters again, which gives us, well, I'm not going to say the light. It's light. Light is one of these vague terms, isn't it? Light, as we understand it, is an effect. It's not something within the source itself. So the visibility aspect of it comes via the interaction of the source energies and the water particulate. Um, I've been through all of this before in terms of me talking through it, but how much can you imagine the finest razor blade your mind can conjure up and take a droplet of water? How much can you cut down and half every time until it doesn't become, it isn't water anymore? I think you can never do it. You can never do it. You can never, no matter how fine you can imagine that razor blade, how fine your imagination is, you can never do it because it's elemental. That's what it means to be truly elemental. Everything, all the other elements, in terms of the periodic, the interesting word now that I think about periodic applies to women, but it applies to all of us. You think men don't have their periods? Of course they do. They have their time of the month as well, where they're especially invigorated in a sense, horny, if you want to put it like that. What are you going to say? It's just a cycle. It's a process that happens. Everything that happens to females is there's interconnection males, and it's manifested. Woman will manifest it in a different way. Um, so yeah, everything is interconnected in that sense. But getting back to the ultimate point, yeah, the source of this light, the source of all the skylights is this interaction between the source energies and the water. So they're all reflections above. How would you feel, Ian, to think that all of the skylights were reflections of one thing? It's amazing thought, isn't it? Now, when it comes back to what the one thing actually is, maybe it's, one of those trees that, is it a yew tree, YEW, that has like, it has the main stalk and then it has the branches. It's like what do you call that Jewish candelabra sort of thing? It has seven stems. So if the tree itself is that and it was cut, Well, because everything is in everything else, that manifestation or that reflection would still be transmitted. So maybe this is what accounts for the planets, but I'm absolutely certain that all the, and as I said, you can go back. I'm not going to show my pictures again, but if you're interested, you can go back to the last few hangouts and scroll your way through them, take your time through them. But I've shown plenty of instances where there seems to be a reflection on, let's say, Io, which is a moon around Jupiter, isn't the moon, or is it a moon around Saturn? Is that? But how there's a pattern that's seemingly associated with the proper eyes, which is seen from the moon. I say this is why the moon is our biggest clue. We won't get many clues from the sun because it's too bright and intense. But the moon provides our biggest clue. And if you go back to my early shows, I brought up the moon versus Mercury. I probably didn't do a good job, and I never fucking expanded or continued to develop upon these things. I don't know what I am really. So many things I could have expanded upon. I just prefer, like, it's like the way I fucking treat songs in a sense. I have loads of songs, and it's just once I get the bones of it, the basic music down, the structure of it, some idea of a theme and a few lyrics down, then I leave it and I forget about it. Not that I forget about it, but I move on. Move on to the next thing. So yeah, it's probably the same thing here. But I challenge anyone. To go and bring up an image of Mercury and bring up an image of the moon and find one and the other. Find Mercury on the moon. Or my challenge in another way was find Mars on the moon. But just understand that you're looking at reflection. So I think the key that I would provide would be that the further away the planet, the more you're zoomed into an aspect of the moon. Now, you also have to remember that all the moon craters are just one crater, a kaleidoscopic expression of the one crater, which is a reflection of solidity. And there's lots of overlapping and overlaying, so it's obviously easy to see how you would discard what I'm saying on just immediate visual evidence. But yeah, thinking about it in a different sense. So getting back to your question, Ian, do I think the moon is holographic? Yes and no. Yes and no. Yes and no. But yeah, I think I satisfied your answer there. But yeah, what do you think about that? That is definitely extraordinary claim. Extraordinary claim that all the moon craters are one crater. Stand by it though, friends. And remember one of my great inroads into all of this, and I stand by it today. I know it's true. But went beyond that. But my Milky Way on the moon find killed all of astrophysics. I use the term astrophysics specifically because when you're talking about the physics of the greater astral expansion, the astral world, the universal expanse, well, yeah, you're dealing with solid body mechanics in a sense, solid body thinking. When I showed that the Milky Way, which is a swathe that we can't see here in the northern aspect, but it's a swathe going along in and around the equator somewhere, and it's a massive swathe. When I show that that is actually an expression of this crack that's running, seeming crack, or whatever the fuck it is running along the center of the moon, then how can that happen? It can't. The only way it can happen is if we're dealing with reflections or a reflected expression of something. So that's how I make the claim it killed all astrophysics. But I went on to figure out much more. So that Milky Way swathe itself, right, which goes along the crack of this very center, so it spans the moon from let's say it spans 3/4 of the diameter of the moon in a curved fashion. Maybe it's not so much as that, but there's a massive fucking expanse anyway, many thousands of miles according to current theorizing. But yeah, to find that there, I found that also in when I look closer, Aristarchus itself. It's also Aristarchus is a crater, and the crater then goes inwards, and you have the different layers, etc. So the Milky Way was just one particular swoop around the curve of one of the layers. How about that? And that's what I mean by kaleidoscopic expression. And wow, can you imagine my surprise and sort of bitterness in a sense, because I thought it was onto such a great thing early doors at finding more than one Milky Way, and then coming to realizing that there's a myriad or an infinite number of Milky Ways on the moon in a sense, because it's all an expression of the same thing. It's like looking through parallel mirrors which are slightly askew. You know, you unless you have the context, you're just going to get a jumble of shit that you can't make out. When you have the proper context and everything revolves back into, this doesn't revolve back into on a planar thing. That's why I did that, and I sort of bent backwards, maybe intuitively. It revolves back in a spiraling fashion. And maybe the DNA unfolds then in that spiraling fashion externally. It's like the fucking. I'm just thinking there. It's like the vine, the roots of a flowering plant, in a sense, plant earth. But yeah, so yeah, that makes, and especially then, there's so many other points of evidence that lead to the same fucking conclusion, or at least in the best that I can reckon it anyway. But one of the big clues for us was no forests and flat Earth. Now I don't know how many of you have been on Google Earth and you've looked around and just paid attention to what would be going on in this new context for your thinking. But I've said it, again, everything is fucking repeated, and I do have lots of new things that I could say actually, but I don't know. Yeah, I probably don't do that because it would take sort of too much sort of prequel and too much justification, take too much time then, and I'd lose everyone, and I wouldn't even know where I'd be at myself because I wouldn't know how to present um, everything in sort of coherent form. But yeah, no forests and flat Earth. How many of you have been on Google Earth and went around your own country, Ireland here? If you just go off the coast, let's say 3,000 meters, a couple of miles or something, and you have the ability to go around the coast in real time. And I've traveled around Ireland, not every nook and cranny, but I've traveled places around Ireland. So you know that, like, the further you zoom in, oh yeah, I've been there. I can clarify that that's real. So we're getting some sort of real representation. So as you take this different perspective, then as you make your way quickly and briskly around the coast of Ireland or any similar island, doesn't matter. It's just that that's a nice handy size. If you haven't realized that the fucking tree stump that you're after taking an adventure around, or haven't had the proper context for your thinking. The context for your thinking was probably the fucking spin ball earth evolutionary tale. Fucking stupid. Excuse me. Fucking stupid. But that's not my fault. If I could affect the thinking and the context of everyone's thinking that I met, well, where would I be? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I am where I need to be. But that's what it's ultimately about. So yeah, I hope that's a good enough answer, Ian. That was earlier on as well. So if I'll just scroll down to the comments, and if you have any further questions to ask, I'll give them an answer. I'll try answer anyway. But the ultimate point is that we have a singular source. It's expressing and it's giving us all the skylights, the heliocentric, or the sun and its surrounds. Every one of the heliocentric um, um, connected planets, if you want to call them that, they are all reflections of the source itself. The moon being a direct reflection, and everything else being a reflection of a reflection. Mars, direct reflection of the sun. Venus, a direct reflection of the moon. But everything has two reflections as well because it's not a completely circular barrier. So it's just reflections of reflections of reflections. Everything moves in tandem, in a sense, and it can only do that because there is a singular source. What's paramount is, well, the nature, the contour, the well. I remember the retroreflector on the moon. So what's that decoded? Well, decoded, it's like in retrospect we come to realize that the moon expresses via a mirror, or the mirror sky. So a mirror sky is paramount in all of this. And that's all we're looking at. You can actually prove it. I knew myself looking out the window last week. I was at the front again, and I could see the sky. I could see the stars just adjacent to the North Star or whatever, in bright fashion. I went out again, gone. I said, "Fucking hell! What happened? There's no clouds in the sky. There's no. It seems like there's no clouds in the sky. There's nothing to interfere. Well, how did it suddenly go out?" Yeah, they only express through the invisible energies expressing through the intervening medium. When we think there's no clouds, there's always, well, yeah, you can go out some nights and you can see a clear view. It seems like there's no clouds in the sky, clear view of the stars, everything is glorious and glittering. Then you go out another night, it seems like there's no clouds as well, but you can't see any stars at all. But ultimately, it's a cumulative effect of the atmosphere, whatever you want to call that. Getting into what that is, different matter. Nitrogen, very interesting topic to talk about. Again, I haven't heard anyone talking about what I talk about. I really haven't. I really haven't. I really haven't. Pretty much everything if something is coming from somewhere else, as I said earlier on, I didn't decode Mr. Jones. Someone else pointed me when I went on to a possible decoding of songs, and someone pointed that out, and then it became obvious. But I added my own thinking then in a different context. So Flat Earth and beyond, Bob Dylan being an actor, there's been about 3 or 4 Bob Dylans. So everything's sort of coming together to lead towards greater ventures, greater avenues. So yeah, but the stuff I'm talking about, I haven't heard. I don't hear anyone talking about. I don't know where to go. I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even want to actually go anywhere because it might interfere with my thinking. Do you know what I mean? But actually, I haven't heard anyone talking about the stuff that I'm talking about. But that's not to say that I'm anything. I'm just saying that that's par for the course, I guess. But yeah, there's always an atmosphere, so we get to see the stars via the intervening screen. And when you depart, when you separate from that, the higher you get, the stars will seem to disappear. The moon shrinks into a tiny dot because they're all reflections. Now, because we can't make it out with the visual eye, that doesn't mean that the point source reflections themselves are not still there and the energy is emanating. It's just that there's no atmosphere there for them to not for them. There is, yeah, there's for us to perceive visibly to appreciate those energies. That's all there is. That's all it is. That's all it is. So yeah, when it comes to the nature of the skylights and what we're told they are, it's all metaphor. Don't try it out completely. The lie is built on the truth. So you've got to decode it. And what does everything come back to? It's the star. The star, everything is fundamentally a star. We live in a system where we have billions of stars. Our sun itself is a star. The planets were called wandering stars. The only almost universal exceptions are the Earth itself and the moon. But everything else is a star. Now, when it comes to the arena we're in, who are we up against? We're up against the same heads over and over again. It's almost like they're cult members. Cult of what? Well, the best fucking way of describing it is they're cult members of the first who was first to take focus away from the Earth being central and move it elsewhere, which is the basis of heliocentrism. And once again, who is the father of heliocentrism? Aristarchus of Samos. I didn't write that. I didn't write that. Someone else wrote that. But the man didn't exist. It's all bollocks. But yeah, there's a greater significance in the decoding. Aristarchus didn't exist, but Aristarchus does exist if it represents the divided tree of life, which is actually the reason the sun was given birth to, is because tree was cut. Tree was cut. That was it. Think about it. Many times have I said it. Your finger will do. Cut off your finger, and your blood shoots up. So imagine just there was constant pressure, and all of your blood drained through your finger. You would see it coming up like a fountain, wouldn't you? You can easily imagine that. Fundamentally, what's happening. So yeah, whatever because the blood comes up, it's combating air around, right? And so there will be a sort of an emanation, and it's like very fountain-like in a sense. So yeah, what these source energies are, well, they're within you, friends. Of course, they have to be within you. You can't help it but be an aspect of God. Now, whatever God means to you, I think we should be careful. Capital G is incomplete. The capital G is incomplete. It's an expression of the O and the one and the I. You just turn it whatever you want. The O and the I. Notice the way the zero as well as oval, oval, right? So it's the O and the I and the relationship between the two. So certain aspects are missing when it comes to G, and G is associated with the material. It's the heart and the core of the material, the geography, the guttural, the girl. Remember I mentioned the girl the other evening. The G spot. You can continue on and on and on. I guess you can. You could do it better than I. I haven't particularly made any list, but I'm not too interested. When a word comes to me, I'll just write it down. But I know the basic notion. So think about it yourself. But yeah, there's something incomplete there. So what is lacking? And well, what is the completion? I think remember I mentioned Io. Is it Io? Yeah, Io, which is the moon of Saturn. Is it the moon of Saturn or Jupiter? I think it's one or the other anyway. But yeah, I think very significantly named. Ultimately, Io and you are Io as well. Remember, I'm male, you're female. We belong together, male and female. So Io and Io, something like 10 and 10. 10 and 10 is 20. 10 and 10 is 20, and 20 is twin 10. That's the unity. 10 is the division, it's a separation, but it is the completion within oneself. So, yeah, no matter how full you get, you're still empty unless, you realize what is lacking overall. Actually, that's a reminder of some of the Gospel of Thomas. Oh no, it's not the Gospel of Thomas. The Secret Book of James, which I've already said as well. Once again, nowhere else to go here. You can't Google this and see if I'm right or not. But I say that the Book of Revelations leads us to the Gospel of Thomas, leads us to the Secret Book of James. One particular clue in the Gospel of Thomas leads us to the Secret Book of James, and therein Jesus talks about knowing when you are full, when you're empty and full at the same time. I don't know. I'm not doing it justice now, but yeah, I've played that a few times during the interval in past shows. So yeah, very significant. But anyway, let me get back to the chat briefly before I exit. I might get a quick sound in before I do. Okay. Flat Sabbath, and I said this a while ago as well. They say our DNA strand is as long as the distance of the ball or sun. What's that? 93 million miles. Maybe another decoding by me, or possible decoding as well. Miles, millimeters, MLS. We potentially sort of interchanged if you want. 93 million millimeters, it turns out to be something like 58 miles, just short of 60 miles. The Kármán line distance is given as 60 miles, plus or minus, because it's a vague zone. I wouldn't put it past. I wouldn't put it past them to have decoded it to some degree in that way. But our DNA strand, yeah, I'm not sure what to make of all of that. I'm not sure. Well, I'm not sure. I don't know what that's about. Maybe we're just one interconnected DNA strand. So if you unraveled all of us like you unravel a fucking wool jumper, you just get one interconnected DNA strand, and it turns out to be that long. Maybe that's the sense to mean it. I don't know. I don't know. But that's only half the story then. That's only half the story. This spiraling pattern that predominates everything, the phi pattern. I should think a bit more about that. I have some more thinking to do about the the golden ratio. But yeah, when we think of this predominant pattern throughout all sort of life progression, well, what's causing it? It's this great mystery of natures, and science tells us that they can account for everything, but they have no real answers to anything. I guess they have an opinion on everything, but they have no real answers to anything. So when it comes to explaining this pattern, they come up short. Science comes up short in so many different things. I debunked fucking Einstein years ago, but I've specifically debunked him, and I was more say decoded him recently enough when I came to the absolute. Yeah, it's undeniable. We already know he's an actor. He's just a fucking puppet put in place. But what he represents there and why he was put in place and why all of the narrative is associated around him. Now I've come to understand why it is. Not completely, of course, but to a greater or lesser degree, I think I have. And ultimately, it goes back to logical necessity. It's when the Earth was decided, in the greatest of minds, whoever they are, when the Earth was first decided to move, then the ball develops from that decision. The ball, it does not develop unless, first of all, you have the decision in place that the Earth's surface moves. Because as we look around us, we know something moves. And then everything develops from there. Einstein and Mitchell Morley, the debate wasn't whether the Earth was rotund or not. It was ultimately whether the Earth was in motion or not. That's the trick. It's the big trick. It's the big deception. And it's not too easy to grasp then. So understanding that then by our own logical processes, that the rotund Earth could not have arisen unless the initial assumption was that the Earth was in motion, the surface that we're on is in motion. Well, then we can say that Einstein and his false what are you going to say? I guess it's a battle of paradigms between Mitchell and Morley. Anyone who's known what Mitchell and Morley is about, I don't want to get into that now, because that's about fucking luminiferous ether. The old Mitchell and Morley already assumed that the Earth was a ball and that it was moving, but they found information or found evidence to suggest that the Earth may not be moving. Einstein jumps in and says, well, all the evidence, you say we take it as genuine, but relativity comes into play. So we just can't tell which is moving or which isn't. And in reality, everything is moving, but just because of the nature of the movement, you can't tell which is or isn't moving. And that's why you get your results, Mr. Mitchell Morley, as you do, as you gauge the speed of light, another fucking vague another stupid another stupid fucking diversion in a sense, because now they've already established what light is. Light's already established, associated to the knowledge, the certainty that the Earth is a ball and that space is given, right? The sizes, the materials, makeup of the universe is known up to maybe even minor galactic level at the time, was set and certain. It's all there for decoding. It's all scripted. All of it is. All of it is. What we need to come to terms with ourselves is understanding why, in the mind of every man and woman and child who would consider this, that the idea of the Earth, which goes against all of our senses, first of all, which goes against more of your senses, or more of your sensibilities, the idea that the Earth is in motion, or the idea that the Earth is a ball. I would say that the idea that the Earth is in motion. It's possible that the Earth is a ball and the Earth is still, but it's still a stretch. It's still something we can never experience. You can only ever imagine someone antipodal to you. Now, the problem with planes and modern day technology and transportation, etc., is that we've all easily proven to ourselves, or it's easily provable, that no, when you get on a plane, you go to Australia or you go to fucking somewhere halfway across the world, you're not fucking going around the ball. You're not going to ultimately end up in an opposing opposite position than you started off with. It's stupid, but they didn't know that back then, whatever back then entailed. But yeah, the point being here, and I should expand upon it in different ways. Maybe if someone comes in for a chat next time, I would be encouraged to expand upon it more. But I think you should work on it yourself. So it's only when the rotundness of the Earth, the rotundity, only developed when the notion that the Earth's surface was moving was accepted or went along with. So when you take away Earth's movement, then all you have is flatness. So this is the key to Einstein, Mitchell Morley, and that other divide within a divide. It's all fucking theater within theater. But yeah, and let me go through some of the rest of the chats. So yeah, that's about the DNA. Maybe that's what they mean. Maybe that's what they mean. Like our DNA is like imagine our body is like a woolen jumper. So the DNA is sort of connected everywhere. And if you could get it strand by strand and take it apart, maybe that's what they're talking about. It's like your small intestine, isn't it? You know, what is it? Your large intestine, which is no, the bigger one is the small intestine. It's about 30 feet or something. You go fuck off. Fuck off. Look at you. How are you going to fit back in your small belly or something? 30-foot intestine. Yeah, so I think it's something like that. When everything's unraveled, DNA is the basic core structure, makeup of all material, cell, matter, whatever you want to call it. The interconnectivity that connects everything. Maybe if they're talking about it in that sense. But I'm sure there's probably more to it than that. And every one of these articles, Flat Sabbath, it's all what are you going? It's all it's all encoded talk. It's all encoded talk. The truth of our reality is known. Of course, it has to be. So that's the way I look at anything and everything that's presented from sort of the official, especially the more official the source. Especially the more official the source, the more then you got to fucking look at it in a differing light and decode it because the truth is being transmitted to you in somewhere or other. Niger is a country in Africa, sure. Now imagine I had trouble pronouncing my G's and I said, is that Niger? 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 So if I said Niger, so GER is Germany, but it could be Ger as well. Niger, it could be Niger is a country in Africa. Do you know what I mean? It's fucking shit, like stupid shit. Stupid shit. Do you know what I mean? I'm not calling anyone anything. And if I was to do that, it'd be my own business to do that. I can call anyone anything. Why can't I? Why can't I? Why can't I? I've been called fucking many names many a time. I've been against. Oh yeah, yeah. That doesn't matter. Over the years, I don't think there's been anyone more anyone who's been called more names than I have. I'm talking about really fucking hateful, cutting, biting names, and I'm talking about online as well, and maybe sometimes in reality. But yeah, that's for sure as well. Sometimes, definitely, sometimes in reality. But yeah, fuck it. What am I gonna do? Yeah, good to see a good servant again. So I'm just scrolling down. Flat Flat Sabbath says, "Do you have a mass shooting where you live?" No, man. There has been a few shootings, and there's definitely crime warfare. I know that for a fact. I know that for a fact, and definitely there has been murders. There's no doubt about it. When it comes to mass shootings on the scale of what's happening in America, no, nothing at all. Nothing at all. Um, Now, I don't think there was ever any mass shootings in America. The last two shootings are now. See, here's the new guidelines, right? So you can't. I'm going to go short in that just to save my time as well. But now, so you can't say anything that goes against. It's not that it goes against the official story, but you can't say anything that will possibly upset the families of the victims or kin associated. What are you supposed to do then? So, in other words, you can't say anything. You can't question the official story. You can't call hoax. You can't say the H word. The H word is going to be dirtier than the N word. You won't be able to say hoax anymore. But if you're going to say one of the words, you'll be able to say nigger before you say hoax. So, do you know what I mean? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Yeah, there's no way to live. No way to live. Resist, friends. Resist. No matter what it costs. What the fuck are you going to do? Yeah. I guess you have to. What happens is a gradual, slow kill. You'll just control your talk in general. This is why I probably get away with this because I'm not monetized. I'm not monetized, so I can get away with saying the H word and the N word. H word and the N word, for fuck's sake. Jesus wept. Jesus, I mean, I'm not fucking racist. I always shout out trannies with fannies everywhere. You know, I know what to do now. And I mean, what am I going to do? Listen to who am I going to listen to tell me how I should live and how I should talk, how I should feel, how I should represent? I'm going to listen to a corporation. Who's Mr. and Mrs. Corporation? Who am I talking to? An edict. This is a rule. Oh, I got to follow that. This is 1984 stuff, isn't it? Maybe this channel here is the last vestiges of any resistance to this fucking utter bollocks. Utter, but I do provide resistance in reality as well. Anyone I meet, I reckon if I met anyone, I asked how many groups of people did I ask today about flat Earth. A few people walking by. Actually, I asked two girls as they're playing. Hey, girls, I was playing guitar and I stopped playing, having a cigarette or something. I say, hey, girls, did you hear the Earth is flat? Two girls were walking by, and one of the girls said, I did. You told me the last time. You told me a while ago, ages ago. I didn't recognize her at all. But I said, oh, really? I said, well, great stuff. I said, well, guess what? It is still flat as they were walking along. So, yeah, I provide resistance. I told you about the cop yesterday. I mean, it's not enough, it's not enough. But what the fuck do you do? What the fuck do you do? And as I was leaving yesterday, the cop was just standing by the wall. He was waiting for, I'm guessing, the tow truck to come along and take the car away. But I reckon if I didn't say it to him, he would have been fucking sat in that car, and he possibly would have drove the car up to the Garda station or something himself, which would have definitely been illegal. But he would have sat in that car unless I went over to the window and said, hey, what you're doing legal now? Because the engine was on, and if a cop comes along, you're after coming out of a pub, and the engine is on your car, you are now operating that vehicle. So that's where I sort of caught him up on. Little small fella. Fucking above his station. And I said it to him, I said, you have a lot to learn. I said, you don't know who I am, in the sense that, yeah, you work for me, son. I didn't want to push it too much as well, but yeah, he didn't get any name out of me. He wanted my date of birth. As I said, look, he had the phone, and I didn't even have it on. I thought I had it on camera, on video, but it was just on camera. So I was taking a whole load of nothing. But yeah, it just goes to show you. Okay, let me make my way through the rest of the comments here. I only want to stay on a while. That's grand, actually, 2.5 hours. So that means I'll probably get another 2 hours out of the next hangout, and the one after that, then I can stay on for ages. So let's see how the rest of the week goes. It looks like there's loads of good weather in store. Yeah, I know that, Jed. So yeah, your StreamYard hours can run on, but I still have a few hours before 20, right? So what I'm going to do is, let's say I'm on maybe 17 hours, 17 and a half hours now. Come on for 2 hours next time, and then the time after that, when there's only a half an hour left, then you can stream on, and then your allowance is renewed for the next month. So yeah, nice one. Oh, look who's in. Am I right, David? Gadget Inspector. Hello, David, man. We haven't spoken in a while. I think the last time we spoke was over in Geo's, wasn't that? So yeah, nice to see you, bud. I'm regular enough on Humans of Earth as well. Maybe you consider joining that. It'd be good to hear your voice if you're interested in a good fucking a melee, a good brawling arena. But yeah, how you doing? The moon is getting brighter. The sun is getting fucking hotter. David it's a scorcher, man. It's just more intense. I say that my own thoughts are our star is increasing frequency. So the stars are getting brighter, the moon is getting brighter, the sun is getting more intense, and everything appears nearer just because it is more intense and the frequency has increased. So yeah, let's see how everything pans out. I do think, as I say, everything is a reflection of one thing. Be interested to hear it maybe some other time. Gadget, what do you think, David? Is there sort of a separation between everything in this flat Earth realm, or is ultimately everything connected? I think, in a sense, the creator and the crater, isn't it so? Isn't it so associative? Isn't it so sort of bound or binding in a sense? Creator, crater. Poor crater. Yeah. Anyway, that's the only terms I can think of. And the minute I step away from these terms, I'll promise I'll let you know, of course. I'm not selling anything. What am I selling here? I'm not selling anything to anyone. I'm simply, because where can I go? Any flat earther I ask, all of the fucking top flat earthers I've asked similar questions, and I get vague answers for the most part back, but I never get developed answers. And one of the simplest questions is what's the most likely alternative in reality? We're dealing with reality to the official explanation that space is empty, universal emptiness all the way beyond Earth's confines. That's the most likely answer. And yeah, there's lots of humming and hawing, and there's lots of non-answers given. The obvious answer would be saline waters. It has to be fucking obvious that it's saline waters, with 70 or so percent of the Earth's land covered with saline water. But people are so reluctant to go. People are all of the usual heads are reluctant to go places, are reluctant to develop, especially in places where you need development. You need to come to some sort of decision before you can progress in your own thinking. Otherwise, you don't have any solid foundation, or you don't have any um, structural construction support for your thinking. Now, if you build on a false premise, surely you will flounder, sooner or later. This is the point. I think this is the point about all of this as well. So, how you doing, man? Dodo, comment ça va bien? Merci beaucoup. Fuck it, that's another language I have to pick up on, man. I have to repeat. I talked lots of times, David, about my son in his mum's belly, Sarah's belly, when we went over to France, and maybe there was some calling that it had to happen. But we did go over to France, moved over to Paris, and I loved it there, man. I loved it. I really loved it. I could easily see myself fitting in. I was anxious to sort of start talking in the language, communicating, trying the best I could to get on. It was just a beautiful country, and Sarah, not so much. She had other things on her mind, but that's okay. But yeah, I loved it there, man. So yeah, I definitely love to have a good conversation and renew thoughts on the French language. But Marve, how you do, bud? Marve, you say water is always moving. Everything is always moving. What isn't moving? Outside of the surface of the earth, it was just not moving. But everything is moving. But the earth, so I think the surface of the earth has been cut off. You see, that's what I'm saying. This is the exception. This is the break or divide. Water is always moving, but only because something is moving. I think that's the ether. Ether is moving, and well, what's the source of the ether? I mentioned earlier on, but Richardson Morley and Einstein. So not to continue this now, but the idea of the luminiferous ether, it was applied to spinning ball Earth, heliocentrism, and beyond a greater static setting for the universal medium through which everything propagates, light propagates especially. Now, if it's all encoded, what's the opposite to what's presented? Well, it's an enclosed ether that's actually in motion. This is what's happening with the Earth. This is why the ether moves as the stars and the sun moves on a daily basis. Why there's a distinction between both the heliocentric sort of system and the greater stellar system. For me, there's two barriers, right? Remember I said that. And also, yeah, the ether is moving, and there's a different rate of, what would you call it, uh, expression against the barrier. It's all reflection. So yeah, I can't think of an equivalent at the minute. I'm too tired to think of an equivalent now. But yeah, it's fundamental. Well, yeah, the reason why the ellipsoid model of Earth has to be taken into consideration is because that the barrier itself is elliptical. So it's not as if the lights are just shining. Oh yeah, that's what I meant to say. As if the lights are just shining in one plane, right, and just in one motion. They're shining on, and it's just a circular, regular dome-like pattern. Now imagine that's elongated first of all, but the source itself is traveling in three planes, so it's going in and out, right? Sorry, round and round, right? That's obvious with all the starlights going round and round. but it's going continuously. It's all continuous time, round and round, in and out. This is what gives us the moon phases, right? And up and down at the same time. So when we get to the depths of winter, we are what at one extreme, and when we get to the depths of summer, we're at or the heights of summer, we're at the other extreme. So I think actually this is what I've been puzzling on this as well. What when is when? When is when? So I think actually when the tree is the lowest, let's get that right now. The tree is the lowest, the root is the lowest, at its lowest piston sort of stroke, then that is the winter. Hang on. Yeah, when the tree is the lowest, which is the fall, that's winter time, and when it's at its highest peak, that it's summertime. So spring and fall. So this creates a divide. So yeah, everything's in motion, but according to the motion at the center. That's the only thing we can say. That's not the only thing we can say. It's the only thing I can bring everything back to. And there has to be a central source to all. And that's the way I look at it. That's the way I look at it. And that's Mount Meru. That's Mount Meru. And there's a giant hollow at the north center, massive whirlpool, and this fucking thing on a massive root, a massive pillar, spinning around, stirring the water like a spoon stirs the coffee in a cup. You know? But it's not just like you put the spoon at the bottom of the cup and stir around. It's like you put the spoon in, you stir it around, and you move it in and out, and you move it up and down at the same time. And then you're getting this various and sundry motion. I will part and say, I'll just say that again. Certain things in your life, you know, you grasp them closer to you because you know the context of where you learned it, and the situation sort of it just leads itself to it being true. But one of the things in my life anyway was Jim, the ship's navigator, when he said to me that he was 25. I used to meet him down at the local pub occasionally, but a ship's navigator for 25 years, international waters and all this. But he said to me that he thought the idea of the flat Earth was ridiculous, and he spent his life at sea. He said, but he would give me one thing: an open ocean, on open waters, and all tides surge from the north. I found that very, very interesting. Very, 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 very true. Took his word for it completely, but I incorporated it to my thinking regarding the north or the flat Earth, right? The stump Earth came later on, but the flat Earth, whatever's going on at the north, and generating everything that we see, sort of magnetating. What's the word? Gravitating, gravitating around it. So yeah. So let me just, Marbe, you say you see the sun, but you don't see the sun's reflection bouncing from the water into the sky. Well, that's a different matter now. I'd like to talk about that a little bit more, but well, you do and you don't. It's actually how we get to see. If you think about it, you're down at the beach at twilight, and the sun is going down, the whole sky is darkening, but you see the last vestiges of the sun's rays as they're projected along the surface of the water to your feet. It's not as if that's the only sort of pathway of the sun's light along the surface of the water. Those sun's energies are everywhere, but we only sort of perceive them directly, visibly, via this reflection, a line that goes from your feet to the sun. You know what I mean? But the sun's energies, invisible energies, are coming through the air as well. But what is the determining factor is the angle at which the light approaches you. But the light itself is not something that's coming from the sun. The sun's energies are invisible. It's only through the light, through the intervening atmosphere and the excitation and scintillation that we actually get to perceive this light. And and the water in the atmosphere specifically, obviously along the surface of the water, as we're looking at this ray and this pathway, while the surface of the water is denser water than the water in the atmosphere. So yeah, we do actually get to see the sun projecting in the sky, but not in the sense that we think in terms of. But okay, I think I'll leave it there. Will I get a song on before I go? Maybe a soft song. Okay. I haven't thought about Spanish chicken in a while, so I'm going to sing this for Spanish chicken. Otherwise, friends, thank you for joining again. Maybe we'll be on closer to next week sometime, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. In the meantime, hopefully you're having good weather and you're enjoying yourself. Keep the spirits up and keep asking questions and keep thinking good of yourself, for goodness sake. If anything wrong to put right, do your best to try and do it at least for your own sake. So, okay, friends, let me leave you with this and say thanks again for tuning in. By lonely prison wall, I heard a young girl calling. Michael, they are taking you away. For you stole Trevelyan's corn, so the young might see the more. And your prison ship lies waiting in the bay. Low lie the fields of Athenry, where once we watched the small free birds fly. Our love was on the wing, we had dreams and songs to sing. It's so lonely round the fields of Athenry. Our lonely prison walls, I heard a young man calling. Nothing matters, Mary, when you're free. Against the famine and the crown, I rebel, they brought me down. We must raise our child with dignity. Low lie the fields of Athenry, where once we watched the small free birds fly. Our love was on the wing, we had dreams and songs to sing. It's so lonely round the fields of Athenry. By lonely harbor walls, we watched the last star falling. As the prison ship sailed out along the quay, for we live and hope and pray for our love in Botany Bay. It's so lonely round the fields of Athenry. Oh, lie the fields of Athenry, where once we watched the small free birds fly. Our love was on the wing, we had dreams and songs to sing. So Our love was on the wing. We had dreams and songs to sing. Nights of morning around the fields about to dry. So lonely round the fields about to dry. Night, friends. Farewell to all. Love you, Steve.